I am fanning, so everyone's going to have to be patient with me on this interview. There are voices that introduce songs, and then there are voices that define an era. And today's guest isn't just a radio legend; he's part of a soundtrack of Cleveland, from golden age of rock radio to managing some of the biggest names in music, from backstage passes to hard-won personal redemption. David Spero has lived a life that most of us only read about. And today, my viewers get to hear about his new memoir, A Life in the Wings, folks. Pulls back the curtain, the music, the excess, the friendships, the losses, the recovery, and the reinvention. He's a legend, managed his icons, survived the business, and today he's sitting down with me, and I don't fucking know why, but I am so grateful. David Spero, thank you so much for joining a piece of Molly's mind today.
No problem, Molly. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am, and I feel like you will appreciate this. The fuck bombs happen, and I think that you are okay with that. So I may say that word every once in a while.
What was the word?
The fuck bombs.
Oh, hey, I have no filters. Don't worry
Perfect,
about that.
perfect. And I have not gotten through your whole book. I have a little ADD, so it's very difficult for me to read. So I just figured, hey, you're just going to tell me it all anyway. So,
What the hell? Reading's overrated. The pictures
but
are good, though.
everybody needs to pick up this book because it not only does is it chock full of everything, there's pictures too. So for those of you like me, it's still a good read because you get to watch all the amazing pictures that you have there.
And how
Um,
many people have a picture of themselves when they were 16 years old with Jimi Hendrix?
I, I, I can't even when I and the my shtick is I really don't do a lot of huge research because I love for my guests to share their story. I don't want to tell the story. I want my guests to tell the story. But like I am flabbergasted. You started as a young child in this industry, and one of my questions were going to be if you didn't go through this, where would what would you be doing? But I don't think I can. That's a fair question for you because I don't even think you could answer that because you were raised in this industry. There wasn't I don't want to say there wasn't a choice, but you wouldn't know of anything else to do.
I just, it was I transcended into it. I was 13 when I started working on the Upbeat show, which was a nationally syndicated show. It was on 105 cities across the country from 1964 to 1971. And every band in the world did that TV show. The Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Kinks, the Supremes, the Four Tops, Otis Redding. I mean, everyone did that TV show at one point or another, some of them many, many times. And so, I grew up around this. By the time I was 15, I was kind of writing the show because I knew the music better than my dad. And I didn't really care whether, somebody's favorite color was blue. I wanted to know what kind of a guitar they were playing and what amp they were using to make it work. So all of a sudden, we started to take it up a notch as far as what the artist and the host were talking about. And through that, I got a real interest in radio and started doing radio when I was 16 years old. And
What were your friends saying at school when you're going back the next day and you're talking about the Beatles were in, or like,
right,
how was that conversation?
it was I didn't honestly, I didn't have a lot of friends back then because I was working I mean, I would come to school and I'd take the rapid downtown to the TV station as soon as school was over. And because as much as we only taped the show on Saturday, we worked on the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so, I didn't get to go to the school dances and the proms and those kind of things because I was working.
I think you did okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look, I regret some of that. I wish I would have had that. I never got to go to college. I mean, I could have gone to college. I chose
Sure.
not to. But eventually I ended up leaving school because my radio show on first WNCR and then WMMS, I was on from 6 to 10 in the morning, which meant I didn't get to school till 11. And
And what age?
Ohio has these stupid laws that you have to take X amount of gym classes to graduate from high school. And my gym class was first period. I missed it for
Oh,
the last 2 years because I was on the radio. And they were telling me I was going to have to come back and take gym and two other courses of my choice. And I just went home instead.
what school?
I was at Beechwood High School at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you're an MMS at how old are you?
Uh, by the time I was on MMS, I was 17.
Okay. Like MMS, and for those viewers who live under a rock, WMMS was groundbreaking in the radio. It was a radio station. And in the 70s and 80s, what can I say 60s or no?
No, we really started, MMS didn't really start till 73.
Okay. So would you, fair statement or not?
Oh, no, that's not true at all. I left in 73.
Oh,
I knew that year from somewhere. Um, yeah, I was on NCR in 1969, 1970 is when I went to MMS.
would you say it's a fair statement that WMMS helped Cleveland rock put Cleveland and rock and roll together?
Well, I would give that credit goes to Alan Freed,
Hmm.
who in the 50s invented the term rock and roll and had the very first rock and roll concerts at the old arena here. And I mean, he coined it, he lived it, he invented it. I mean, as far as the words, I think, we didn't take rock and roll to the next level. We took radio to the next level. There were two other stations doing what we were doing across the country, one in San Francisco, one in Philadelphia, not New York, not LA, Cleveland. And we had invented what was called at the time underground radio, or then it became free form radio. But we just did what we did. We played music that we thought would go together, and we had no boundaries. We didn't have, you could play Joni Mitchell into Miles Davis into Led Zeppelin seamlessly, and the audience accepted it. Where if you had played a Miles Davis song on the radio, they would have gone, "Oh, what's
Uh,
this?" But they knew that something else was going to come that made sense with it.
so you were a DJ, you had your own
Yeah, I
show.
was the music director. I was the first morning guy on both of those stations. And yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. It just happened.
That's crazy. And it happened like during the time where like I was born in 70. So in my mind, the 70s and the 80s were iconic. And when it came to albums, my husband and I just drove to New York City this past weekend and we were going over the albums that we had. And it was because a Raspberry song came on. I said, "Oh my gosh, my mom had that album and it had a scratch and sniff." And
Ah,
you,
yes.
and then it was right next to the Bread album and the Led Zeppelin. And then
Wait, they weren't alphabetical?
no, no, not my mother. She was a single,
Oh,
she was a widow with four kids. So there
oh
was
yeah, alphabetical
no,
was the last thing she thought
yes,
about.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure those albums were her saving grace. But, and then I remember the Queen album and having nightmares. It was the one that you opened up and it was the robot that was
Oh
squeezing
yeah.
the bodies. It just like albums were just, they were everything.
And they're coming back, I'm so happy
Yes.
about that because,
Yes.
there's nothing like holding the album,
Nothing.
the cover and reading every word etched into it while listening to the record for the first time.
Mm.
There's just something
It-
really, really
It's
special about
it's
that.
I have a record player and I get my albums as well.
Me
All right,
too.
so you were how long again at MMS?
But in 1973, a guy named Joe Walsh,
Yes,
who at the
iconic.
time was leaving the James Gang and starting Barnstorm. He had been a friend of mine. He was in a band called the Measles back in the early 70s and late 60s, and they were one of the house bands on Upbeat. So they would back up people that were lip syncing or whatever, you know. And Joe and I became pretty fast friends because we had the exact same musical tastes. And he used to hang out at my radio show on MMS. He'd just come down mainly to get free records and you know, whatever drugs were hanging around. Um, and one day he said to me, he said, you know, when you're like 21, you're not going to be doing this, right? And I said, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing now, to tell you the truth. You know, I said, why? He says, because I think you have what it takes to become a personal manager. I said, I have no idea what that means. So I want you to come out to LA with me and you can learn from my manager. And I went out there for about a year. I lived with Joe and his wife for a while, and then uh, I'd met Danny Fogelberg
Ugh.
earlier, and we're born on the same day, same year.
And what day
And
is that?
Danny was looking for a roommate, so me and Danny got an apartment out there, and I learned to do what I was doing. And the first band I had was the Michael Stanley Band because Joe had played on the solo records. And he said, you know, you got to manage Michael. I'll introduce you. And he introduced me to this other guy from Lorain, Ohio, named Don Novello. But most people knew him as Father Guido Sarducci
Yeah.
on Saturday Night Live.
Rosanna, Rosanna, Dana.
Yeah, so those are my first two artists.
Okay,
And,
so first of all, you said music taste. You had the same music taste. What taste is that?
well, it starts with the Beatles.
Okay.
Everything starts with the Beatles.
Amen. Amen.
You know, we were both huge Zeppelin fans. Him and Jimmy Page were very good buds. So whenever Joe would go hang out with Zeppelin, he'd call me and I'd go out for a week with them on their plane and stuff. You know,
Okay.
it was all normal to me.
In the 70s, but you're talking the heyday of Zeppelin. Like,
Yeah.
right? So put us on the plane with you and Led Zeppelin
Oh
and
God, I
Joe
can't do
Walsh.
that.
Just one, give us a couple minutes. Like, what are we doing? What are we, I mean, I'm sure I know what we're doing. Um, but is it truly what we think of a rock and roll life?
You couldn't see the seat in front of you between cigarette and pot smoke.
Okay, yep.
Um, it was a reconfigured airplane, so it was like couches and I mean there were seats like that, but the sides of you know there were couches and tables and stuff like that. And nobody really cared about seat belts back in those days.
Right.
There was
Even
a
in
lot of
cars.
playing of guitars, listening to music. Um, After a show, if it was like they would hub. They were the first band that I knew of that hubbed in one city. So they would stay like in Philadelphia, but then fly to New York, fly to Boston, come back every night, stay at the same place. So you weren't really having to move everywhere. And they, you know, there were fans that would be on the plane.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it was like just one long party. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the 60s and 70s were, one
Yeah.
long party.
And Joe Walsh, would you say he was one of the craziest of the Beatles in a good way? I mean, of the Eagles?
Um,
Wildest. Let's say wildest.
well, let me just say, Joe is probably the most intelligent person I've ever met.
Okay.
He is a voracious reader, and he doesn't read Stephen King and those kind of books. He learns like 10 hours a day, he'll be reading
Oh,
books
wow.
on history of this, history on that, and he retains it all. And he's just his uncle Veen was a philosopher, and his father was a taught at all the biggest schools in the Northeast. Um, his stepfather actually, and his stepfather uncle. Um, but he's so well read on so many subjects, and he but he's very shy. I mean, he's incredibly shy.
Really?
Yeah, my wife used to hate it when the three of us would go to dinner because I would inevitably have to go take 10 phone calls and she'd be sitting there and so how are you? Good. How are the kids? Good. How's the tour going? Good. It's like talking to your, 15-year-old kid, no information,
Oh my. So
And
you
she's
said,
known him for 100 years, it's not like they didn't know it. She just
right.
one of those guys.
You said father and uncle. Are that is that one of the same people? Father and uncle was his.
No, his stepfather and his stepuncle,
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Uncle Veen, and his dad, who was just a marvelous guy.
Yeah, I would not, no offense to him, but I would not have put that together.
Well, people that tend to be shy have a clown-like attitude so that they can get through the day.
Hmm.
They think if they're entertaining you, they don't have to talk to you.
Hmm.
And that was Joe all the way. He's the first guy to get in a cram full elevator and say $50 to the first person who farts. I won.
Okay. Okay. So,
He could clear a room with
oh,
the best of them.
that's
But yeah.
hysterical. Um, and let's talk about Michael Stanley. I think I told you that I gave him a rose at his concert at the front row, and he gave me a kiss. So that's my claim to fame with him. But what a legend! What a Cleveland legend! For those of you who are listening that aren't from the Cleveland area, they did branch out,
Oh
right?
yeah. I mean, we had much bigger cities than Cleveland. St. Louis, when we were still playing the Agora in Cleveland, we were doing 10, 12,000 seats in St. Louis. We could go to Denver and sell out that many seats. We can go to Orlando. We could go to Dallas. Problem was we never hit New York or LA. The media markets never took to him.
Huh.
Um, and Seeger had the same problem for a long time before he finally broke.
So,
And but
uh,
Michael had big, I mean, he sold a lot of records. We got a gold album for Stage Pass, so that's 500,000 units. You don't do that sitting in Cleveland.
right. Was he also shy?
Um, yeah, in a way. I mean, his writing was which I don't think he ever got credit for what an amazing
Oh.
lyricist he was.
Hmm.
And his solo albums after the band broke up, every one got better and better. And the last album that he did, which he literally finished 3 days before he passed, um, I thought was the best record he'd ever made.
Mm.
They just kept getting better and better and better.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I mean, if you said to Michael, "Are you bummed that you never made it?" He would look at you like, "What are you talking about?"
He had
You know?
such you may not understand this, but such a sexy sway on,
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, we sang
oh,
together a couple times, but I didn't. It was because they didn't have two beds in the room. But but I never followed the sexy sway. No,
oh my gosh. He'd have his guitar and then he would just do, especially during
I
Lover.
know the move. He stole it
Oh my
from Nels.
gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
Oh
was
my
a big
gosh.
Rick Nelson fan.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Bob Seger, if and when you speak to him next, I have written a play based on his music. And because if I have threaded them all together, and it is a beautiful musical.
Well,
And
he's a great storyteller.
it was all written. I just needed to
Yeah.
put them together, and so tell him. And I have a Corey Cott, who is a Chagrin Falls grad, is on Broadway. I think he's on right now. He's on SVU. But he is, he said he'd play Bob Seger. And so it's all there. I just need Bob to join us.
You want me to call him now?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God, Prince Andrew was arrested today?
He was?
That's what I just said.
By whom? Us or them?
By them,
Oh,
ex-Prince Andrew,
X,
ex-Prince Andrew
X.
now,
Oh my gosh.
released after 11 hours in custody. That's so cool.
But we can't
This is
find
a
Nancy.
historical day. Yeah,
We can't find Nancy, but Prince Andrew has been
right.
arrested. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when you do talk to him, please have him it's all there for him.
I'll let
Um
him know. I'll send
it's
him. I know where you live most of the time.
all the
And you
time.
probably have a room for him there.
Yes, yes, all the time for sure. All right. So then you went you
I went
worked
into
for
management.
right, but then you did some Columbia Pictures. When did that fall into your world?
Well, after we did the Stage Pass tour, and we had just started, the songs were just being written for what would become Cabin Fever. I'd just gotten married. Michael was the best man, of course.
Oh my gosh, I
And
did not know that.
yeah, well, I was best man in four of Michael's weddings, and he was best man in one of mine. I missed two of his. We had just finished this tour with it was Cheap Trick open, then Michael, and then Ted Nugent, and
Oh,
then that changed to Rush after that.
oh my gosh.
Um, and we were out for, I don't know, about 7 months. And and my wife had we were gonna have a kid, and I told Michael, I said, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know where I don't know how to take that next step. I don't know. I don't have the contacts. I don't have this. I don't have that. And and I'd gotten an offer to go back into radio at M105 in Cleveland,
Hmm.
and it was for a lot of money, and we weren't exactly making a lot of money. And I told Michael, I said, I gotta move on, you know. And it was a huge regret, but I knew it was right for both of us. And I had met with Belkin a couple times, and they took him over for management, and definitely got him to the point where they're selling out the Coliseum and they're selling out Three Nights at Blossom and stuff like that, and expanding their reach all across the country. They toured with Foreigner, they toured with the Doobie Brothers, they toured with Loggins and Messina. So Belkin was able to do that for them, where I
Hmm.
wasn't. And a friend of mine was working at Columbia Pictures, and the music business was getting kind of screwed up, disco and wasn't
Hmm.
rock and roll. And it was like I was doing way too many drugs at the time, and I knew I had to get all that in my past. So my friend said, I'll make up a job for you at Columbia Pictures. And I started working with the music directors of the films. So
Oh.
I helped choose music for Buddy Holly's story, for Big Chill,
Oh
for
wow.
Oopsie, for The Toy with Richard Pryor,
Oh my gosh.
Karate Kid. And I ended up doing that for like 12 years.
Oh
And
wow.
then again, Joe Walsh gives me a call. He says, "Are you still doing that dumb job?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Are you bored?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I got a plane ticket for you. Come on out. It's time." And I said, "Time for what?" He said, "Well, I told you at some point you're going to manage me." I said, "Yeah, I never believed that." And so I went out the next day and 24 hours later, I was Joe's manager.
Oh my
And I quit
gosh.
Columbia Pictures and we were off and running on the Ordinary Average Guy tour,
Oh my.
1990.
And you said that, and you talk about it in your book about getting sober, and that you wanted to put that in your past. Had it had it to be Joe Walsh's manager? Was that the first step of that process?
No, by the time I had left Columbia, I had quit drinking, quit doing everything.
Yeah,
I was afraid I was going to like go somewhere and leave my kid in the car or something. I was really worried about not having a presence of mind to be a dad.
right.
And I thought the only way to do that is to do it clean and sober. So,
Wow, that's amazing
and
because
he's 47 now. So,
you, you haven't left him at McDonald's yet.
right, neither of us have been in jail. So it's a good thing.
I mean, I would say getting sober in general is probably one of the most difficult things to do, but getting sober in the field that you were in added a whole nother, you know, element because I would assume that it was just around you all the time.
Oh, always. But I knew I had the strength within me to just put it as I didn't go into rehab. I literally said, I'm done.
Wow.
I mean, I had a couple really bad weeks don't,
Yes.
that I remember fondly because if I didn't remember them, I probably would have gone back.
All right. So I heard a story that you shared about the Beatles trump the Eagles, and I would love for you to share
Oh,
that story. And then, of
yeah,
course, we're going to talk about the blowjob,
right. Of course. So
obviously.
I was on a Ringo tour. I think this was in 93. And Ringo wanted to put out a live album of the tour. And one of the songs that Walsh was doing on that tour was Desperado. And it was a really cool version. And Joe used to introduce it by saying, "This is the best song I never wrote." And so we're about to put the album out, and I got to get permission from Henley and Fry because they wrote the song. And Glenn's like, "Of course, yeah." And I went to Henley. He says, "No." I said, "Why not?" He says, "Because he keeps telling everybody he wrote the song." I said, "That's not what he says. He says it's the best song he never wrote." That's not what I heard. He can't do it.
Oh boy.
So I got to go back to a Beatle and say, I was unsuccessful in my chore, you know? And Ringo like just stood there and he looked at me and goes, "You call him back right now and you tell him Beatles trump Eagles every single time. So if he wants to sue me, have at it."
Oh my gosh.
So I thought I was like, go to my room and call. And he goes, "No, call him right now."
Oh my
I picked
God.
up the phone. I called Henley. I said, "Hey, Don, I have a message to you from Ringo." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Beatles trump Eagles every time. You want to sue him? Go at it."
Oh my
And
gosh.
he said to me, "You don't even probably know him." I had a very distasteful uh, career with Don.
Uh,
Some re, Someone once told him I was Joe's a drug dealer, and he
oh boy.
believed.
Mm.
And I know what you're doing. I know you're the one that's giving him drugs. It's like, no, Don, I don't do them. I don't give them.
Oh
Think
my.
what you want. We had a
Right.
lot of contentious times on the road during Hell Freezes Over.
Oh my.
And we put it on the record, and of course, no lawsuit ever happened.
Oh my gosh.
And Joe
Now,
wanted to change the record so that it said, "This is the greatest song I ever wrote." But we talked him out of it.
yeah, we talked him down. When you say um Ringo called me, Joe calls me or whatever, Bob called me. Are there people calling your people, or are you literally picking up the
Oh, these are
phone
people that call me.
and Ringo Starr is on the phone?
Well, I mean, when you work with someone, you have to talk to them. And
Yeah.
I helped with putting those, well, here, let's see who's on my list of
Yes.
my texts. Let's see who I have texts from right now.
Yes, please.
Okay, well, I
This
have,
this is the kind of shit I love.
okay. So I have, here you can see Jackson Brown is
Oh
on
my
there. There's a cat.
gosh.
And Billy Bob Thornton is right there.
Okay, can we holy shit. Can you text Billy Bob Thornton and say Molly Gebba loves you and you're incredible in Landman? Like I want to talk about Billy Bob Thornton because
One of my
I
favorite people in life, by the way.
is he like
Oh,
it
can I show you something?
a
Is
100% yes.
this annoying me? No.
No, I love it back there. Hi.
This is the, you should move back. This is the tuxedo jacket that Billy Bob wore when he got his Academy Award for Sling Blade.
Shut the
He's
fuck
this
up.
little.
Shut up. Oh my gosh.
And
And you just
I
keep
had
it on
on
the
this,
chair?
huh?
You
Yeah,
just
just
keep it.
on the chair. Yeah, it's right there.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I was at his house once and I had on this t-shirt. It was a Manassas t-shirt, Steven Still's shirt. And it was one of the official member of the band that had Steven's name on it. And he had traded me a Cleveland Browns jersey that he wore on the second Steven Stills album. He's wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey that was mine. Uh, so I traded him for this T-shirt, and then Billy says, "I have to have that shirt." I said, "Well, it's going to be too big to you." He says, "I have tailors." And I said, "Well, I traded this." I told him what I'd given Steven for it. He goes, "Ooh, I know." And he brought out the jacket, the tux jacket that he wore for his Academy Award. I'll trade you this.
Oh my, with the pin, the
The
lapel
pin on it.
ribbon on
Yeah,
it.
and we have his official invitations in the house.
Oh my gosh. Is he, do you watch Landman?
You know what? I watched the first episode and it was like hanging with Billy.
Well,
That's exactly who he is.
that's what I
And it's
thought.
like, well, he's not acting.
Yes, that's what I liked in my head. I like to think that. Okay, so that
Yeah.
is, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, make
He's
sure,
not, I mean, he's one of, by the way, just one of my favorite people in the world.
oh,
On the road with him recently over the summer, actually in the fall. And he was opening a couple shows for the Who, and he knew that Pete and I were really good friends, and he was so intimidated by playing, as Billy is a musician of
yes.
the highest quality. I mean, amazing drummer, singer, writer. He went out to Hollywood to audition for Frank Zappa and the Mother's Invention, playing drums.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's when, at that point, he had written Sling Blade. It was just a little short story that somebody read and said, "You're turning this into a movie. You're in Hollywood now, Billy."
Oh my gosh.
And that's how that career started. But he does music every year. He takes time off to go tour. And so our birthdays are close to each other. And he was opening his tour down in Clearwater this past year. And so I flew down to Clearwater to see the first show. And then she was coming home. I needed to hang out down there because I had some meetings down in Sarasota. And Billy says, "Well, what are you doing tomorrow?" For a couple of days, I have meetings on Monday. This is a Friday. He said, "Get on the bus." I said, "Where are we going?" "Ooh, and you're going to introduce me to Pete Townsend."
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, "Okay, well, that's what we'll do."
Oh my gosh.
So we went down there, and Billy was like 12 years old. I mean, he was like, "When does he usually show up? Does he do sound checks?" And I'm like, "Everything's good." Here's
And
another
he
thing I
was a
can show
big
you
deal
here.
by then, you know?
What? Well, this
He
was
was a,
last year.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
This was their end tour. They're done.
Oh my gosh.
So here's one of Pete's guitar picks
Oh
from
my
the tour.
gosh.
It's backwards.
Oh, no, it was
Oh,
right.
look, now it,
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I did a tour at Caroline and Tom's house, so I'm gonna have to come over and do a tour with
oh,
you
absolutely.
for part two of
We have the
this.
real rock hall here.
So speaking of the Hall, how are you connected with the Rock Hall? Do you work with them? How are
Uh,
you?
I was on their first board of directors when they first started. I was on the team that brought the Rock Hall to Cleveland. And I was on the board for a bunch of years. And then when we finished the Hell Freezes Over tour, um, I was bored. And my wife said, well, why don't you just go hang out at the Rock Hall? You know, they'd love to have you down there. And my timing was perfect because the guy who was the vice president of education and programming was getting ready to leave. And he hadn't told them yet, and he hadn't chosen someone to follow him. And he called me up and he said, I have the perfect job for you. And I said, what? He said, mine.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he said, you can do as many shows as you want. You can have as much fun as you want, and you have your own hours. You do whatever you want. So I became vice president of the Rock Hall, and the first thing I did was start a TV show on MTV called Live at the Rock Hall. And it was the first TV for people like Alicia Keys, John Mayer,
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
that whole era of music debuted on my TV show. And I would do the interviews with them, and then they'd do a concert set, and we'd use the interview segments going into the commercials. And we did that for 2.5 years, and then I got the call from Walsh telling me that he wants to introduce me to Billy Bob, and it's time to leave another job.
Oh my gosh. So did you manage or do you manage Billy Bob?
Yeah, I take care of his music career.
Oh my gosh. That's insane. Does he come to Cleveland? Does he play in Cleveland?
Yeah, he's been at the Music Box. He's been at the Beachland. He's been at Kent Stage. Yeah, he'll be back here probably in June or July, I think.
Okay, so here's what we need to
So I
do.
have to take you to meet him, right?
Well, yes, that.
Done, Molly.
But
Done, done,
oh my gosh, so
done.
you're gonna freak me out. Stop it.
No,
Um,
all my
so
friends have met Billy. Everybody loves Billy.
I can't even imagine it. I can't. Well, we need it. So have you been following the Chagrin Cinema that
Yeah, this
Kim?
past year, they debuted my documentary.
Okay. Okay. So Kim McCune Gibson from Hungry Bee purchased
Right.
it and she's redoing it. Well, I'm going to have my podcast is going to be live at the Hive. And I'm going to
Oh, how
do
great.
one day. And Caroline's helped me. We're trying to find that one killer interview. So tell Billy Bob when he's here, we'll just wrap it around him being here. And then your part two will be also live at the Hive. And then
I'm in.
Jan Jones wants to be and then
I ran into
Caroline
Jan last night.
so she says that she's my manager. But then
Oh, really?
Caroline also says she's my manager
Right.
too. So Caroline wants to interview me at Live at the Hive.
Well, there you go.
So she's planning it. But yeah, I love Jan Jones with all my heart. I
So
just
did Michael.
I know, I know. And she knew how much I adored Michael and she'll tell you that her biggest sadness, not biggest, but one of her sadnesses is that she always wanted to I used to be the director of the chamber for 8 years, the Chagrin Valley Chamber, and my office was in the township hall, right there on Main Street. And she always wanted to surprise me and just have Michael come up as I was working. And then he got sick, and she's just like, I'm just so sad that I just didn't do it when I wanted to do it, and I waited. And um, yeah, I just adore her. She's the
The
best.
day Michael was supposed to be interviewed for my book, is when he had the bad turn,
Mm,
and
mm,
then 2 weeks later he was gone.
Was
So
there anybody who started sweating when they heard that you were writing a book?
no,
Nobody reached out and said, "Hey, buddy."
you know why? Because I had made a decision about the book early on that my life has been nothing but fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've had to deal with, the Don Henleys of the world. Um, but that's not the standout part of my life. The standout part of my life is, being in a hotel room with Cat Stevens when he's trying to
Oh,
realize if he remembers all the words from the Tea for the Tillerman album. And I'm sitting across from him on a couch while he's sitting there playing these songs, trying to
legend.
remember them.
Legend.
That's, I've had that experience with Walsh, with Dickie Betts, with Graham Nash, with Stephen Stills, with so many others where I've had these one-on-one experiences that are just, you know, how am I here? It's kind of like I've had a Forrest Gump life of sorts, except mine really happened and I have pictures. And I
But
really
you
can't play ping pong that well.
but you
But,
also are well respected. Your career would have been shorter if you weren't.
well, I don't know about respect. I think they haven't found out about me yet, which has
No.
always been my big concern.
Oh my gosh.
I was telling a friend of mine today that about being in the studio with Paul McCartney and Cat Stevens,
Okay.
and I remember being in the control room looking through the glass, and I took this picture of the two of them, and we were in London, and I sent it to my brother in New York, and I said, I don't know if this is really happening. So tell me what you see in the picture that I sent you.
Did somebody slip me an hallucinogen? Because
Yeah. And he said, oh my God, where are you? I said, I'm in London. He goes, is that who I think it is? And I said, yeah. You're in the studio with Cat Stevens? He didn't even look at the other
he didn't
guy. He
even pay attention.
recognized
Oh my.
Yusuf right away.
Yes,
And
yes.
Paul McCartney, it's just I fall into these things.
That's crazy. All right, so we're gonna tell the blowjob story because I that Steven Tyler just I'm a Youngblood fan. I don't know if you know who Youngblood is. I'm a
Of course I do.
huge, and I have to mention him in every episode of my podcast, which
I got to meet him at the Rock Hall dinner a couple months ago when Bad Company got inducted.
what?
He is
Oh,
a big Paul Rogers fan. Unfortunately, Paul couldn't make it, but he had come over to our table looking to meet Paul.
oh my gosh,
And
Youngblood.
Stephen had told me they'd recorded together and
Yes,
stuff.
so they
Yeah.
did and I always have to say, Youngblood, I'd love to have you on the podcast. So reach out to me. That's what I have to say at all my every episode. I have to say it. I am going. My kids are a little nervous. I do have tickets to go see him in May in the pit, um, which my girls are like, Mom, you're not going to be able to handle that. I'm like, yeah, I'm a girl. I'm the girl of the 70s and the 80s.
You'll handle
Okay.
it. You'll
Yeah, I've
handle it.
I've seen Michael Jackson, okay? Actually,
Yeah.
My Ted Nugent story, Ted Nugent had opened for Kiss.
Yeah.
And I was
I think it was the other way around, actually. I know Kiss opened for Ted quite a lot.
this would be the late 80s.
Oh, okay. So it would have switched. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the probably I don't know where, maybe the Coliseum. Now, I'm a 12 years of Catholic education, okay? So
Let me see your
my
knuckles. Can I
yeah.
see your knuckles?
Exa- No, not
Ooh,
one.
they've been beaten a lot. I can see that.
All lay teachers, believe it or not. For 12 years, I was never taught by a nun. So my concerts were Sean Cassidy, some mild ones, right? So my boyfriend takes me. We're gonna go to the Kiss, and Ted Nugent's opening up, and Ted Nugent comes out. He's
Wait,
like,
you were allowed to have a boyfriend?
I know. I got really bad at the last couple years of my high school. Um, and Ted Nugent comes out. He's like, Cleveland, how the fuck are you? And I almost had a heart attack. Like, he
He
just
said the
swore.
F word. Oh no.
I was like, oh, and now I'm the biggest trucker mouth you'll find. But I was like, oh my gosh, he
Kids need
just
that these days, you know.
so 10
My
years ago.
son
Yeah.
has never sworn.
Who
Actually,
hasn't?
that's not true. The first word he ever uttered was "oh shit."
Who did?
My son.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know how old you are when you first start talking, but that was his first words at Thanksgiving dinner with my Republican in-laws, and they freaked out, and they like started screaming. He didn't know what was wrong, and we told him,
Right.
there's just certain words that you don't use. To this day, if I say, "oh shit," he'll tell me there's a better word than that.
Oh
There's
wow.
kids around. He'll tell me you don't
Oh
have to
my.
say that.
Oh wow. So that he's got like PTSD on that word, it sounds.
Well, and also he doesn't drink or do drugs because he grew up on tour buses from the time he was 3. And how come Ringo can't walk? How come Uncle Joe is can't talk?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
learned his life early.
Oh my gosh. So let's tell the Steven Tyler
Steven Tyler blowjob story.
blowjob story.
Yes.
Youngblood, you could close your ears. Don't listen. Don't listen.
I must say that I wasn't personally involved, but I was involved in Steven getting his first ever blowjob.
You
And
need to you need to
he was
explain, David.
Yes, he was in a band called Chain Reaction out of Boston. And they had done the Upbeat Show a couple of times because they were on Columbia Records, and my dad and Clive Davis were real good friends. So anybody on Columbia did the TV show, big or small. Um, so Steven's doing the show. It was like the second or third time he'd been there, so we knew each other. And he said, "How well do you know the Shangri-Las?" Because they were on the same show. Remember Walking in the Sand? Anyhow,
A little before me, but okay.
yeah, they were, one of the early girl groups, Beehive Hair, and the lead singer, Mary Weiss, Stephen had a big crush on, and he said, "Do you think you could introduce me to her?" So I said, "Yeah." I knew both of them, and hey, Mary, this is my friend Stephen. He's in a band in Boston. He's going to be incredibly famous in a band called Arrows. No, I didn't know that part, but anyhow, they everybody stayed at the Versailles Hotel, which was next door to Channel 5 Studios. So after rehearsal, everybody leaves and they come back. Steve grabs me and he goes, "I can't believe it." I said, "What?" "I just got my first blowjob and it was from someone, you know, a big star."
Oh my
And he writes
God.
about it in his book, in his
That is
book. So
hysterical.
we're at a rock hall dinner. Oh man, this is the year that Aerosmith gets inducted. And I was like over in this section, he's over in this section, and he sees me and he comes running over to me yelling, "There's David Spero. He got me my first blowjob." And all these rock stars, everybody's like looking. I'm like, no, 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 no. I only introduced him to a person,
Right.
but
Oh my
it was a big
God.
deal in his life.
Oh my, that's hysterical. Oh my gosh.
He tells that story all the time too. I
That's
was with him. He was playing down in Columbus, not Columbus, in Cincinnati with Aerosmith. This is like 2002, 2003, when they had just come back. Everybody was sober. Stephen was hanging a lot around me because I was helping him with his sobriety. So he had flown my wife and I down to Cincinnati. We rented a car. We're pulling into the parking lot, and the car pulls up next to us, and it's Peter Frampton. And Peter lived in Cincinnati for quite a while, and in fact, his daughter went to Kent State.
okay.
Um, and I've known Peter since he was in a band called The Herd before Humble Pie. We knew each other. I was an exchange student in 1968 in London, and Peter's brother is the same age as me, and was also our pot dealer over there. So I got to know Peter back when he was like, 17 years old,
Oh
and
my.
remained friends ever since. And so he says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm helping Stephen with a couple things." And he goes, I've never met him." I said, "No kidding." And this is when Peter's hair is like my length right now. And I said, well, come on, I'll take you up to meet him. So we go into the dressing room and Steven's facing me and Peter's back's to me. And Peter's like, oh, it's so great to meet you, giving him a hug. And Peter is mouthing words to me, who is this? And I said, how cool is this? Peter Frampton and Steven Tyler. Can I get a picture of you guys?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And Steven's like, thank you.
Oh my
Nobody
gosh.
recognized Peter back then when he had first cut all his hair off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But how, I mean, that's right there, two absolute legends. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
geez.
Pete's great.
Now
In
you,
this room, actually, he lived here in my office for about 5 or 6 days once. They were on tour, had some time off, and he was in a writing mood, and he had called me and said, "Our first gig back is going to be at Nautica. Um, I'd love to stay at your house if possible." And I just remembered this story. So I met him at 271 and Mayfield, picked him, or Cedar, picked the bus was there, and I picked him up and brought
where
him
the
here.
Jimmy Gr or the Danny Green building is?
Yeah, right near
Yeah.
there. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah. Johnny, put down.
uh,
Well, he was the original manager of the Allman Brothers,
okay.
what he was. But anyhow, so Peter and I come back to the house. There were two people that knew that Peter was at the house, me and Peter. I hadn't even my wife was out riding her horse. I hadn't even gotten a chance to tell her. By the way, Pete's staying with us, and we're just in the backyard. We're going to go over to Giant Eagle and get some swordfish and throw it on the grill for dinner, you know. Well, the guy next door to me, who I really didn't know, I see him all the time. Hey, you know, he had like a wedding band. You know, they played a bunch of weddings,
Okay.
and they're in the garage next door, and they're rehearsing, and they start playing "Show Me the Way." And this
No.
guy's having a hard time with it. And Peter looks at me and goes, "Ha ha, this is very funny." I said, "I swear to God, I didn't even know he was in a band."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, let's have some fun." So we cut through the bushes next door, walk into his garage, which is open. And Peter goes over to the guy. He goes, "No, no, 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 no. It's like this." And he takes his guitar, and
Oh my
he
God.
goes, "Here, try it." And the guy's like, he goes, "No, no, no, watch me fingers." He says, "It's simple, it's simple, just come down." And the guy picks it up and he's like, "Oh, I see what I was missing, you know, blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute." And Peter goes, "Yeah, you got it." And we leave.
Oh
And
my
we're back in the
gosh.
backyard and we're sitting there. And next thing we know, the whole band is at the fence between the two houses going, "What just happened?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, is this real?"
Oh my
And so
gosh.
and since that day, me and the guy next door have been great friends.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
used to be a roadie for the Raspberries.
Oh my gosh. Oh, with the scratch and sniff, with the
Yeah,
scratch
right.
and
Yeah.
sniff
They all
album.
smelled like that by the time. Eric had a scratch and sniff suit.
Oh my
Wally
God.
had scratch and sniff underwear. No, I'm kidding.
Now you could be anywhere, but you have stayed loyal to Cleveland. Why is that? I mean, you could have moved out to LA.
I
It's the
made a
best.
decision when I was living in LA and going to work every day and watching these people that all they wanted to do was win, win, win at any cost.
Mm,
You know, people that their biggest triumph of the day is they made two people cry.
mm.
And I'm like, this isn't who I am.
Yeah.
You know, that's not me. I'm a kid from Cleveland. I have Midwestern sensibilities. We go home at night and we eat dinner as a family and you know, this is who we are. We're not snakes in the grass. We're not trying to hurt everybody that isn't with us, you know, like other
Hmm.
managers were doing. And I said, you know, they've invented the telephone now. We have that in Cleveland. We had the internet in Cleveland at some point.
True.
Um, you know, I figured it didn't matter where I was.
That's-
I wish we had a better airport that flew to more places, but other than that,
mm,
you know, we're real people here. We don't,
right.
I live in a fantasy world already. I don't need to have that like
24 hours. Yeah.
yeah. And you know, I you know, I worked with Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman and every major actor in the world with Columbia Pictures. You know, I don't get a thrill walking into Ralph's grocery store and seeing Tina Turner buying, milk and sugar and stuff, But that's all they live for out there.
Yeah.
Um, and I have my little world here. I'm real happy here. I've lived in LA, I've lived in London, I've lived in Minneapolis, I've lived in Florida. I mean, but I've never given up a place to live in Cleveland. I've always had a residence here because it's Cleveland.
Yeah. It's the
This is what
best.
we do here, man.
It's the
I
best.
love
I
it.
agree. So I know you have another call. I want to do a lightning round. There's so much more that I want to know, but we will just have a part two.
Okay.
Or we'll just go and I'll treat you to pistachio creme brulee. And
How great was
I
that?
I can't, like,
Oh my God.
so there are things that, and folks, we're talking about at Lola's, which is a new restaurant in Sugar and Falls. They have a pistachio creme brulee, and there are a lot of things that claim that they're pistachio flavored, right? And you might get a hint of it. I am telling you what, it
Let me tell you,
is.
we were there,
Oh,
you know, uh, I think we had a 7 o'clock reservation. Probably by the time 9 o'clock we were to dessert. And up front, I had already ordered it
oh
when I
my
ordered my
gosh.
meal. And good thing because there were two left.
Oh my gosh. It's the
So there were two
best.
couples. We each had one to share. And you can't eat a whole one anyway.
No, I mean,
Can't.
you could, but
And you should.
yes,
But
yes. Oh
yeah,
my
that was
gosh. Oh my
fantastic.
gosh.
Okay, lightning round. Let's
Yeah,
go.
lightning round. And then anybody that comes into Cleveland, I know you've got the Nine and you've got the Ritz down there, but you can always send them to the Inn of Chagrin and they can come and stay with me. So that
Well, we're going to stay with you October 8th, our 50th anniversary.
I love it. Okay. I'm going to make sure that October 8th. All right. I'm writing that down. Okay. All right. So the best live performance you've ever seen.
David Bowie's first appearance at Music Hall, his first show in the United States, uh, was a life-changing concert. Awestruck I've ever been at a show. And I
Wow.
saw the Beatles.
Wow. Wow. That says a lot. Most underrated rock artist of all time.
Can we do the top 50?
Well, who's the
I mean,
first?
my obvious would be Michael Stanley, but there's a guy named Andy Pratt who had a secondary single in the late 60s called he's made like three or four absolutely amazing records that to this day I go back to. Um, he's from the Pratt Institute family
Okay.
up in Massachusetts, and Avenging Annie, that was the song.
Okay.
Check it out. The guitar work on it and the fact that this is a song that came from the 60s, not the 90s. Uh,
Yeah.
if he put that out today, he'd have a big record. But he had a couple other albums that just absolutely blew me away. There was a label called Razor and Tie, which they just did reissues for the most part. They would take lost albums and put them out. And I knew the guys who owned the label, and they knew I was a big Andy fan, and they let me put together his compilation.
Wow. Oh,
Uh,
that's cool.
so that was a big thrill.
Any, did you ever come across or meet Harry Chapin?
I I interviewed Harry once on MMS. Um,
I loved him.
I thought
I mean, just his music.
he was another one of those you would have never known he was from New York. He
Yeah.
had a Midwestern mentality as well. Jim,
Yeah.
they were this kind of same guys for me. Both just wonderful human beings. In fact, Harry's his lunch fund for underprivileged children is still very active in the New York area.
Oh, really? I mean,
Continues to this
the,
day.
I don't, my mother must have played that, the 1,000 pounds of bananas.
Paul Rogers.
Well, that's Paul Rogers calling.
Okay. Folks, you're hearing it live.
Hold on, Jer.
I'm going to move.
Hi. I... No, I was just thinking about that. I was thinking you probably needed the link. Okay, you will in just a moment. Okay, bye.
Oh my gosh. Can't, can't. Nope. Biggest backstage moment that made you say, I can't believe that just happened.
Uh, at a Rock Hall dinner, they have a what do you call it, cocktail party beforehand in New York, and I'd taken my older brother with me to it, and we're standing there. It's not exactly backstage, I guess, but Jimmy Page starts walking towards my brother's facing Jimmy Page, and he goes, "You're not going to believe it. Jimmy Page is coming towards us." And he's like shaking. My brother's shaking. And I turn around and Jimmy looks at me, and goes, "Spero, what brings you here?" And my brother just lost his mind.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, that's,
Those are the fun ones. I mean, backstage, I'm always working for the most part, you know.
yeah. But it
Um,
does sound like you, I mean, whether or not I'm going to meet Billy Bob Thornton or not,
I'm telling you, if he when he comes here, you're meeting him.
oh my gosh. It
It's
seems
not
like you
even a
do
question.
appreciate, like you do say, you know what, I want to share my mo like I just think you're so cool in that manner. There was another story and
If
I
you were
can't,
sitting here, I would call Billy and have you talk to him,
oh my
and he
gosh.
would talk to you.
Well, we can call him when we're eating our pistachio because
There you go.
now that's all I
There
can
you
like my
go.
mouth is literally watering. Bruce Springsteen or Mellencamp, who would win in a little sing off?
Well, I personally think that John Mellencamp is one of the biggest pieces of shit in not just the music business, but in humanity. Uh,
Okay.
and and Bruce is one of my favorite people in the world. I'm going to go with Bruce Springsteen.
I would think so. I
We
would think
probably
so.
saw, I bet we've seen 30 baseball games from the old stadium, sitting in the bleachers, smoking pot and drinking beers while watching the Indians lose, 80 games in a row.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
I'm typing as I'm talking to you. I
Go
have to
ahead.
send
No,
the
go
link
ahead.
to somebody.
Um, an artist that is exactly how you would think he is, bad or good. One that comes to mind.
Uh,
Like, is Gene Simmons exactly how you would think Gene Simmons would be? Or when he takes off the makeup, is he not?
right. I'm going to go with Jeff Beck.
Oh, okay.
Um, we were actually right before he got sick. We had actually been talking about working together. And again, Jeff's another guy that goes back to the upbeat days when he was with the Yardbirds, and we had become friends over the years. The only time I ever got real drunk, I never got drunk in my life except once, and it was with Jeff Beck, and he turned me on to rum and coke. And 15 later, uh, my road crew guys were carrying me to my hotel room where I was in a room that, strangely enough, not only was the bed spinning, but the bathroom was spinning, everything was spinning.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Jeff's exactly who you would think. He's a car mechanic that plays guitar. He was
Who have you not worked with that would be, I need to before I go?
well, the only person in our business that I've ever wanted to meet that I never met and then decided I don't want to meet him is James Taylor.
Oh,
I have to have somebody that I've never met.
thank you.
All right. Talk to
Well,
you soon.
part two coming.
Bye bye.
Bye.